Welcome to Shielded Voices, the podcast where we break the stigma, build resilience, and support the men and women who serve our communities. I'm Mitch, a dedicated law enforcement professional with over 8 years of full-time experience and a combined 15 years of experience in law enforcement. My journey began as a police cadet, a reserve police officer, and now I am a full-time deputy. I am a defensive tactics instructor, an emergency vehicle operations instructor, and a former drug recognition expert. Now, I'm here to share the conversations that matter the most.
And I'm Brian, a deputy with over 15 years of service. I bring my experience as a defensive tactics instructor, emergency vehicle operations instructor, field training officer, a member of the riot team, as well as the narcotics team as a liaison. I'm also a veteran of the United States Army, and I am passionate about faith, family, and supporting our brothers and sisters in law enforcement.
Together, we're here to share stories, insights, and real talk about the challenges and triumphs of life in law enforcement. Whether it's breaking down the barriers around mental health, reflecting on our own shared experiences, or providing tools for growth and recovery, we're here to have the conversations that matter.
Our goal is simple: to support first responders, foster open communication, and remind everyone in this community that they are never alone. This is a space for growth, connection, and building stronger voices together.
Thank you for joining us. Let's dive into today's episode where we continue to break the silence.
So that afternoon, he talks to the lieutenant, who says, yeah, I'm your go-between. And he's talking on the phone to that lieutenant. And the lieutenant's like, I really wish you would have gone in and apologized like I told you to.
Oh.
I wanted you to apologize. And I am hearing this because I can hear the phone conversation. And at this point, I kind of have my breakdown. And I turn and I looked at Eric and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. And I scream back. I go, you didn't even have the fucking balls to stand up for my husband, and you're telling him to go apologize for something he didn't even do wrong. Fuck you, you motherfucker. Ooh. I'm screaming. I'm pissed. Oh. I'm irate. And I was like, don't you ever fucking set foot on our property again. Fuck you. Fuck your ballless self. Fuck you and your...
Oh, this person came to your house?
No, on the phone.
On the phone.
He's on the phone with Eric. And I'm
This is
screaming.
The person you just typed in?
So that person was the one who was the go-between. Okay. He volunteered to be the go-between between Eric and the upper echelon.
Got it.
Okay. I just lost it. At this point, I know the other person of 30 plus years is gone. Mm-hmm. There are multiple other people that are not there as a friend. And my husband's nose has been rubbed in the fucking carpet multiple times from January to April. And now you're going to tell me that you told him to apologize? Fuck you, you ballless prick. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was pissed. And I lost it. That was probably my one breaking point during this entire time. And I just let everything come out. Right. And Eric's sitting there like this, and he's like...
I mean, she's not wrong. Right?
I mean, at this point, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You've already demoted him. What more are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to sit here and let my husband be torn apart. You've already done that.
And walked on.
You've done your job.
Yep.
Now fucking leave us alone.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, I think it was April, he gets word that Yamhill County is hiring, and he organizes a meeting with the then captain, and they talk off the record. He's fully transparent with everything. Mm-hmm. He's like, here's what happened. Here's what I've been through. It's not completely closed up yet, but I'd like to consider applying to work here. Mm-hmm. And that captain is like, Yep, you're golden. No
Love
questions.
It. Weird.
And so what's eerie is that I have heard, and I don't know for certain, but I have heard that there might have been some similarities in his past. So
the captains?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. I've never heard it from him, so I can't confirm it.
Right.
But, you know, we did go to a hearing at one point because you do have that option.
Yep.
And so we had contested the judgment, and you go to this hearing. But what people don't understand is that this hearing is not like a courtroom.
Right.
This is the county putting together volunteers, none of whom work in or near law enforcement of any kind. Out of the 5 volunteers, 3 show up. One of them is asleep for most of it. Totally asleep. And I remember I was given the option to go up and testify, and I was like, no. This is all about my husband, and we need to keep it focused. And so there was a lot of, like, the first 2 hours of that were literally bantering back and forth between the 2 attorneys of, like, who was going to be allowed to be a witness.
And this is you have an FOP attorney at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally watching this, and I'm like, what
is
going on?
Yeah.
And I see the list of people who have been subpoenaed, and I'm like, what are these people even going to say? Are they going to uphold what a narrative? Are they going to talk honestly? Because I don't have any faith in any of these people.
Right. No. Now, are these people that are in, like, these people that are supposed to be testifying, are these people like in command staff or just?
2 of them were on SWAT.
Oh.
And at one point, mind you, my dad is sitting here, I'm sitting here, Eric's here, attorney here, and I always remember, I don't know what his title was at the time, but at that time, he comes prancing in, and that's literally what it was. And he decides to go down the aisle that my dad and I are on. And he pats my dad's leg and he goes, "Hey, Johnny, good to see you." And I looked up. It's the only time in my life I've been able to look up at him.
Right.
Sorry, I have to say it. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And my dad doesn't say a word. And if you know my dad, you know that he will talk to you, and he'll talk to just about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But this person is not in his good graces. And what's really interesting is this whole incident opened my dad's eyes to everything. Yep. He then was able to look back at all the stuff that I went through, all the stuff my husband had been through, everything. And he was able to go, okay, I see it now. I get it now.
Some of these people, like the person you just typed, these are people that your dad had worked alongside in his career too, and is now realizing, and the dude you just typed, that dude's a freaking snake.
Yeah,
I can tell you right now, he's a freaking snake.
Serpent. Yeah. Yep. Completely. So Eric has had this meeting with the captain at the other agency, and then he's puts in his application, and it's like so demoralizing to know that you were a sergeant.
And hold on, I want to back up. Not only a sergeant, but he's literally about to be promoted to lieutenant. And before we go further, and maybe you can dispel, because there's also from the outside, there were a lot of, obviously, you know, that place works, rumors. But there was a lot of thought was this to keep him from being lieutenant? Because he was up. He was next up. So a lot of people felt like, we're going to hammer this dude because we don't want him to be a lieutenant. The problem is they don't have much say in it. It's all HR driven now.
And why wouldn't they want him to be a lieutenant?
Because he has a voice.
That's exactly the problem, right?
Yes.
What was the problem with me?
Yeah, you had a voice.
What was the problem with you?
I had a voice and still do, and they'll never take it from us.
If you stand in any place of integrity and you do not say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you will be railroaded out.
Right.
And that is the important message here, is to understand that, and I never in my life have worried about anybody out there, because I know my husband knows how to do this job and do it well. He is damn good.
Yes,
but
he is.
Inside those four walls, I worry about everybody all the time.
Right.
And this solidified everything for me. It changed the dynamics. It taught me that I need to go above and beyond of being not just a wife, but I need to be a protector.
Yeah.
And I need to protect him, because he is going to build relationships, which is what he should be doing. And I need to make certain that every single day that he comes home, not only does he come home, but he comes home and he knows you're a husband. You're a dad.
That's right.
This is your lane. You need to get here now, and we need to let the rest go. And if I can just for a second back up, that disciplinary letter, I recently had a conversation, and I think, Mitch, you probably know this based on my recent post, because this is what I share on my social media content, or the realities of this. I recently had a conversation with somebody who was just dragged through the mud, and he said it perfectly. He goes, I didn't agree with the allegations. I didn't once agree with the allegations. However, my disciplinary letter was written professionally, and there was no emotion in it, which is what it should be. That is not the case for Eric's.
Oh, man.
It is your poor judgment. You didn't do this right, and you didn't do that right. And you were disrespectful here, and you were inappropriate in this manner, and it's constant, and it's over and over and over and over again. And you undermined Lieutenant blah, blah, blah. And there's just this constant reiterating of emotion. And when you read it, and I only had read the first probably 2 to 3 sentences. This is what? 2 years ago now? 2 years ago. Right. 2 years ago.
That's crazy. It was that long ago. Yeah.
I read 2 to 3 sentences of it, and I put it away. I was like, I can't read this.
Can't do it.
I can't do it. I'm not ready.
Yep.
I finally just got through it yesterday. First time I've ever read it from front to back. And I can still, to this day, I can almost see the emotional hatred.
Yep.
And I'm like, why? Why?
Because he didn't fit. He changed the optics from what they wanted, and he didn't fit their narrative. And it's sad and unfortunate. It's truth and reality. And it's, I don't know how to say it's bullshit. Like it's there's so much hurt that goes, like all three of us sitting here know we have poured our lives into that job and very devoted to a place. And against the advice of everybody smarter than us, it's like, stop relying on I don't care if it's a corporation. You're a number.
But you've said it before. That IA process is very alienating.
Oh, yeah.
You find out very quickly who your friends are.
Yep.
And I always call, like, our home, we always call it our island. Because it literally became that during that time.
Yes.
And, what I realized going through this, and this is something that people can relate to on a general basis. My son was 6 when 2020 hit. And he was in kindergarten. And we had him at a beautiful school at that time. I hadn't wised up yet to the realities of what that school was teaching. And he had to go through the tumultuous time of being pulled away from his friends, being pulled away from everybody, being isolated, and put on a computer screen, which he had never seen in his life.
Right.
And now he's kind of going through it again on a different level.
Right. And watching his dad being tore to pieces. And I can, as a dad, I can relate to that. The shame and the guilt that come with that. There was a time for me, and just a quick, like, my kids had to, not metaphorically speaking, literally saw me curled up in the fetal position on our living room floor in a complete breakdown. And I had no idea why. And it's like, when your families, the look of horror on my wife's face to see this, in her eyes, this pillar of a man, so much like you with Eric, this pillar of strength, who's got nothing. He's got nothing left in him right now. And that is just brutal.
And it's so hard as a wife to find your lane in something like that, because you don't want to cross-contaminate.
Right.
You don't want to go over too far. You don't want to prod too much. But yet, there's that nurturing nature inside of you, especially as a woman. We want to fix the problem. That's what we want to do. But I think that through this, God really worked in me and really worked some miracles in me, in the sense that I learned a lot. I learned how to take those steps back. I learned how to shut my mouth. I learned how to filter my language. And I learned how to allow my husband to have a voice.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, in a lot of ways, that whole incident is so bittersweet, because now we're stronger as a result. He's restarted at a new agency. He's back up to being a sergeant.
Yep.
It's full circle. And guess who's running the EVOC program down there?
Shocking. The state subject matter expert? Weird. The one that taught everybody sitting here?
But that's just it. It's like, I think for anybody going through this, sometimes the worst trials, the very worst of them, God isn't making you go through this. He's pulling you through it to do something. And you have to be patient. And at the end of that trial, that tribulation, that really awful time, that molds you and shapes you, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and everybody around me right now. At the end, you kind of do this like, oh, okay, I'm in a better place because of that. And yes, financially, it sucks. Like, it sucks. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Right. It sucks. That was the worst couple of years, I think, financially. I cannot tell you enough, like, how we're sitting there going, okay, so how are we going to pay this bill now?
Right.
And how do we get through this? Emotionally, he still has problems. He can't talk about it.
Yeah.
I totally respect that.
Oh, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna
coping.
be a while.
Yeah, he's coping with it.
And I don't know where he's at, but what I can tell you is even for a rough, gruff dude like me, and Eric and I are cut from the same cloth when it comes to that. Therapy.
Yep.
Oh man, life changing for me.
Yeah.
And I want to read something, because you touched on some things, some specific words that are actually it's and I have it saved on my phone, and I've read this to people, I want to say at work, in my former job, the clients we dealt with on the road, and it's Romans 5. And it's Romans 5, 1-5. Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand, and we boast in the hope of the glory of God. And this is the best part. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. Without trials, we have no perseverance. So
Yeah.
when you say things like, I'm getting chills, man, I'm gonna start preaching. I'm making all Baptist-costal, as our pastor always says that, like he gets fired up. Looking back, the same thing, like hearing your story and knowing some of it, having worked there and lived through part of it and been, I don't want to say the cause of it, but I was the guy that was chasing the bad guy around, because that's what we're supposed to do. And having gone through this last year or so of my own stuff, man, it comes back to that. Praise God for the trials. They sucked. And there were times during those trials where we think we're not going to make it. And to anybody listening, whether you're a believer in Christ or not, just listen to the words. Trials equal perseverance. You cannot persevere unless you go through trials. And I'm here to tell you, if you got Jesus Christ in your life, those trials are going to be much better at the end. I promise you. Promise you. I just, such a blessing that, Eric, it sucks that you guys went through this, but I'm glad you did. And, as shitty as that sounds.
But I would even say with that, he wears the badge, and I respect that. And I've had to learn that is not me anymore. Like, I don't wear the badge anymore.
Yep.
But as a wife, you do wear the badge. It's just a little bit differently. And you have to stay in your lane. You have to be supportive and listen. And you have to know when is the right time to kind of get them to talk, but you also have to know when to shut the hell up.
Right.
And that, I think, too often,
that's a hard balance too.
I hear so much of women who are like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about him. Shut up.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Let go. Let God do his job.
Yeah.
And protect him. And that's what I do. I pray over him every single day when he goes to work.
Yep.
I'm like, God, you got this from here.
You got this.
I got to go be a mom. I got to go be a farm mom, and that is really the root of it. You have to understand that you're the glue that holds everything together. And if you can't stay in your lane, he's not going to stay in his lane.
It's so much, man, you are preaching, girl. Cause I will be, and I always have, I will be the first to admit, of millions out there, as a dude, we cannot, I cannot breathe without my wife. I can't. Even for all the shittiness that I've done.
Yeah.
Like the job of now you being the cop's wife, Eric's not the one making the sacrifice. You are. Your son is.
Yeah.
The people that our families, we're out there, we're hitting the streets because that's where we want to be. That's where God called us to be. Our wives and our kids are the ones that are at home making the sacrifice. And without you being that glue and holding it all together, we'd be screwed.
And let me make clear too, the agency that he's working for now is completely polar opposite. That sheriff is out there pulling traffic stops.
What?
That sheriff is out there backing up deputies. I was on the phone one late night, and my husband goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know that the sheriff is pulling shift with me." And I go, "What?" And the next morning,
Seriously?
He told me the sheriff worked until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, this sheriff is completely polar opposite than anything I've ever been around in my life. And that's important to note, because if you know that where you work, they have your back, it's so much easier to do your job.
So much easier.
And it's easier on the infrastructure of the family.
Yes.
Because we then go, oh,
he's supported.
Cool. He can go do his job. I don't have to sit here and fret over him.
Right.
And worry about, yes, there's politics, but it's nowhere near where he was.
Right.
Nowhere near to that level. And I can do my job here as a wife, as a mom, as the support system. And he has always said, like, he knows he can go to work and not worry about the animals. He knows he can go to work and not worry about his son.
Yep.
He knows everything's going to be taken care of.
Yep.
And he's actually admitted that sometimes it's better taken care of if he's just not here.
Yeah. Right.
But that's the reality of it, is like, I think too often we try to mesh in each other's lives. And you have to have, as a wife, you have to have your own life.
Oh,
and you have to stay functioning. And you have to keep that regimen. And yes, when he's off, I'm not saying bend over backwards for him, because you still need to maintain your life.
Sure.
But yes, when he's off, make time.
Yeah.
Make that time, because your relationship matters. Please, 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 please make sure that you're coming together, because without our date nights, I kid you not, we would have never made it through this.
Yeah.
At all.
You know, what's funny is after 30, my wife and I have been together almost 32 years. And we are now, in the last 6 months, we don't miss date night. We've never done, our entire lives, we've never done date night. Now? No. It's our turn. Kids are grown.
Kids are grown.
It's our turn.
Yeah.
It's our turn.
And that's just it. Even when your kids aren't grown, find a babysitter.
Do it. Yes.
Find a babysitter. And there's a gal that I follow. She's a proud police wife, and that's what she's known as, proud police wife, on Instagram. She's amazing. She sent out an email recently, and she called it rituals. You have to have your rituals. You have to, for her and her husband, it's the front porch. The kids might be watching something on TV, and all she does is text her husband, front porch, and they go and sit on the front porch. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 20 minutes. It might be an hour. They might get an hour, but the kids are there. They're safe. They're okay.
Yeah. Good for them.
They go sit on the front porch.
Yep.
That's their date night. That's how they come together. And you have to have that. And that,
you have to.
The whole shifting gears for me is, I've done this job. I was raised in this lifestyle. I understand the irregularities of this shift work. I am now a wife, and I see the need for there being a support system for other spouses. Because more often than not, at some point in your spouse's career, something is going to happen.
Yeah.
There will be an IA. There will be a write-up. There will be some major incident, and you will need support. And you need to know that you're not alone. And it might be as simple as reading a post online and just knowing she went through it too. It might be as simple as, when I'm finally done with this book, as reading my book. But regardless, it's understanding that there's people out there.
Well, and you've got I kind of want to give you a plug here on a couple of things. So you've got an online presence too, right? That you've got like a group, like a police wives thing as well. Because I don't have any social media, so I'm not. Okay, I am clueless. So let's talk about that. So Mitch is gone, by the way. Mitch had to leave to take his kids to gymnastics, so we're just he can control it from his phone.
Okay. Yeah. So I have my Instagram and I have my Facebook. And both of those I've had for years, because I built up a side hustle trying to get out of law enforcement.
Okay.
I left that side hustle after 10 years. I was in the process of building up another side hustle recently in the last year, while I kind of discovered this like niche and this blessing that God has given me. So here's the thing, and this is where it kind of wraps full circle for me, because I specialized in health. This is what I went to school for. This is what I have done my whole life. And the chemicals, the toxins, the things that law enforcement are faced with and around
cortisol,
arresting that person, you don't know what they have on you. The fentanyl crisis now, the mixing of drugs, we don't know what kind of chemicals and toxins they have on them, and what you're breathing in, just simply breathing. And so my whole shifting of gears and trying to, number one, get myself healthier, but also get my family healthier, has been focused on the detoxing situations that we have to do in order to keep our inner organs functioning and keep ourselves healthier. But through that, as I'm sharing that, I'm realizing not only do police and police families and pretty much everybody needs to recognize that we need to detox, we need to be more chemical free and more toxin free at home, but we also need to be more healthy in the mind and in the heart.
Truth. Yep.
And you're only, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think it's yours as well, you have to root yourself in God.
Amen.
And if you do not, your entire foundation will collapse at some point in time.
It absolutely will. Yep.
And, you know, I tout God so much for getting us through that, but I'd like to give another nod out to an author who was past law enforcement, and his name is Adam Davis. And Adam Davis has written several books. In fact, he also teamed up with Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman on a couple. And one of the books that he wrote was a daily devotional, Behind the Badge. And that daily devotional is absolutely spectacular because it's written with the mindset of law enforcement in mind. It's short. It's very to the point. There's a small prayer and there's a scripture. And it is just, you know, you can look at it and you can read it in 2 minutes.
Right.
And what we do now is I open it up, I read it, I'm packing Eric's lunch, getting him ready, and I leave it there. There's his vitamins. There's your water. Take your vitamins, read your devotional. Read it.
Yeah.
But that is what you have to do to set your mind in the right place.
Yes. Truth. Yeah. Well, you have to start your day. Like I read, I've got an app called U version that a lot of people use, and that's how I start my day. And it's funny is I literally roll out of bed and I hand wrote on a piece of typing paper with a Sharpie, start your day with God. So before I even get out of bed, start my day with God. Like it just, and it could be just saying the Lord's Prayer. It could be whatever. It could be like, yo, what up, dude? What's the day going to be like? Who knows? But you're starting that every day. It's like you're starting this foundation at the beginning of every day, not only just your life, but every single day. Now, do we fall off the foundation during the day? You bet we do, because the church is full of hypocrites, right? There would be no church if there were no hypocrites. Let's just call it what it is. But I agree. It's very, very important. So is there some place, I know like you're working on things, a couple of things I want you to give. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you? Is there a place they can find you online? Start with that.
So my Instagram name is just Living Healthy by Leanne. Facebook, Leanne Stoneberg. Super simple that way.
Yeah, but is it B-U-R-G or B-E-R-G? It's like
every day I get asked that same thing.
So go ahead and spell that out.
STONEBEBERG.
Yeah, exactly.
But those are the two main ways you can get a hold of me and you can reach out. I do belong to a wives group through the current agency that I'm with. And I have to say, I was a part of the wives group at the previous agency, and all it was, and this is just...
I didn't even know that existed. That was a thing?
Yes. It was terrible, though. It was a lot of, oh my gosh, my husband's working overtime again, and a lot of negativity. And I just left it. I'm just like, I'm done. I don't care who needs a meal train right now. Like, I'm done. Right. Can't deal with the drama.
I worked at that place for 16 years. Did not even know that existed.
It did. And I don't know who initially started it, to be honest. But like, in all transparency, there were some, I've never gotten along well with a group of women. Like, it's just not who I am.
My wife the same way. Yep.
Yes. I don't do the mushy, the pink and the fairies and the flowers and all of that stuff. And thank you, God, for giving me a boy. Okay.
Right.
That's all I can say. But this group that I'm a part of now, it's really nice because it's very low key. Most everybody's of similar mindset. We all are in the same political mindset, I think, for the most part. But it's very to the point. Hey, so-and-so just had a baby. They have no requests this time. Let's congratulate them on their baby.
Perfect. Okay.
It's to the point and direct. And I think that is so important. I have the direct personal cell phone number to the sheriff, and he has mine. And he has sent me stuff, and I have sent him stuff. We're on a good communication. I have that with a couple other of the people that work there. I can say I went on, this was my reality check. I went on my ride along, my first ever ride along with my husband.
Yeah.
Okay. As my husband.
Right.
And at this point, I had always kind of wondered, like, what would happen if I go back? What would happen? You always have that kind of wondering in back of your mind.
Yep.
I go on this ride along, and we're about halfway through the day, and I'm like, I'm ready to go home.
Can you take me home, please?
He's like, I have to go speak before a judge, and I have to get this warrant cleared and approved and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yep, that's fine. Drop me off. I'll get my car. And I got home. I picked up our son at my parents' place, and I brought him home. And I went out to go clean animal pens. I have never in my life been so excited to go deal with poop in my life.
Really?
Because I know where that shit came from. I know how to take care of that shit, and I know how to go dump it out.
Yep.
The other shit, you don't know. You don't know. And that's just it. It's like, I don't need to be in that mindset anymore. And God blessed me at that very moment with that realization of like, this life, it's not for you anymore. And I went, thank you.
I'm good with that. I've talked about it on previous podcasts, but I had a couple of epiphanies over the last year. One of them just in the last month. I was out with Matt and another buddy of mine that I've known for years, who's not a cop, never been a cop, nothing. It's a Wednesday night. And I'm having dinner and a drink.
Yes, you have talked about this.
Right? And that hit me like,
I can do this now.
Yeah, I haven't done this in 16 years.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday night with your friends.
Yeah.
Now, is there other nights that you do that? Sometimes, but in the first part of that career, no, because guess what? You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, not Friday, Saturday. So you miss out on the camping, you miss out on all this stuff. But it's a good feeling. I'm not going to lie. It's a great feeling to have my wife walk through the door if I happen to be home first from the new job that I have and I'm making dinner. Me, Brian, I make dinner. Like, people are like, I'm sorry, you do what? Yeah, I could.
My husband wouldn't even know. He's like, what?
It was kind of forced on me. Like, again, full disclosure. I didn't have a family over the summer because they were done with this guy.
Right.
So I had to be like, well, you got to cook. I'm a fit guy. I'm a healthy guy. I'm not going to eat crap food. I better go grocery shopping and buy vegetables.
Yeah.
It's been a learning curve for me for sure.
Well, and that's just it. I think these last couple of years for us was a learning curve. And then of course I've got my son I'm homeschooling now. And I'm like, I need to teach him how to function. I need to teach him how to live. So, we make bread. Yeah. We don't buy bread. We make bread.
Good.
We harvest our own chickens. That's what we do. Yep. We buy a cow. We go and understand the process of that raising of the cow.
You bet.
He understands. He has seen the butchering process. I want him to understand life. I want him to understand death. I want him to understand why God put this on this earth for us.
Yes.
We're getting into bees next. That's our next adventure. And understanding the quality of all these dynamics of what makes this ecosystem so brilliant.
Yeah.
And makes it, like coexist together.
Yeah.
But in the process of all of this, we're bringing peace to home.
Yep.
And that is a really important balance. It's a really, really very important balance that you have to have in this life.
And I'm guessing he's seeing that as opposed to 2 years ago. he sees the bad, but he's also seeing a mom and dad have their issues.
Yeah.
But they're still cohesive. They're still together. The arguments, the tension, the dad, I'm tired of my dad being treated like crap. I'm tired of my dad being this way. And you guys are all still there as one cohesive unit because that's what family does.
Right.
Trials and perseverance. That's all. I mean, it's what it all comes down to.
Right. And when we joined up with this homeschool group, I told them, I said, I'll be here for everything. Like, I'm totally happy, but you got to understand my husband works a really crazy shift.
Right.
And when he's off, I'm home.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
That is my number one. I will be home.
Yep.
And, that is my choice.
Mm-hmm.
Some would say, well, you're sacrificing your own identity. You're sacrificing time with friends. You know what? I'm not ready to let people into my time yet. I'm not at that point. We got driven over the coals.
Yeah, I would say you guys got rocked. You're still coming out of that.
And that 30 plus year friendship with that person and his wife, we used to go out frequently.
Really?
And so, that person's daughter was our babysitter.
Oh.
So it's like, that is still very, very raw. And
why? Just because that person is siding with the agency? That's what I don't understand.
Well, and I've said this a number of times. If that person had just sent a simple text message, hey, I can't talk about this.
Sure.
But I'm here for you on any other context.
Weird concept. Shocking.
That would have gone a long way.
You know that same person, Leanne, that same person in a meeting that I had with him during my last particular investigation, right? We actually talked about the fact that, hey, we need to change as a culture. We need to change when people are on administrative leave or light duty or whatever. Like, somebody from command staff needs to be reaching out to these people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, we all know that you can't talk about the investigation. It doesn't have to be said. You don't even have to say, hey, I'm not calling about we know you're not calling about the investigation. We're not allowed to talk about it. And he gave a 5-minute dissertation to me about how you're absolutely right. He's going to spearhead that and just blah, 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 blah. Now, where I will give credit is a different commander, and I will type it in here. Shockingly enough, as a commander, called me, physically called me 3 different times just to check on me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Shocking, right? Mm-hmm.
That person, I'll just say this without typing it, that person is the one who did the half-ass investigation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm aware. Because remember, I was union rep during all of this, but so we had some information. Oh, I'm aware. Narrative controlling. I
you know what's funny, too, about that person, and I'll tell you this. I was on a fatal crash. I was doing traffic on a fatal crash out West Endish.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dad and son show up, and they're like, hey, the son, probably 20-ish, somewhere mid-20s, somewhere in there. And he says, hey, my fiance never made it into work, and they called me. And I know she goes this way. Can you tell me any information about anything up there? And I'm like, I can try. And I have that person there who has a chaplain with him that day. And at this point, I'm getting enough information from what's on scene because it's down a little bit of a hill. So it's kind of in that hill and I can't see anything.
Right.
So I've got enough information that at this point, I'm 90% sure that from the details I've got from son, that this is the fiance. And I'm like, so I get on the radio and I said, hey, can you confirm this much? Like what color hair? at least.
Right.
And so I asked the son, what color hair? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a yes. What color's the vehicle? Okay, that's a yes. So now we're at like 95% like certainty. And I talked to him because at that time he's above me. He's a corporal at that time. And I said, this is what I got. I go, can I take your chaplain over there? And he goes, no, we don't have 100%. And I'm sitting there and everything inside of me is like, you need to go over there right now.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I go, you know what? Step aside. I grab the chaplain and we go walk over there and I do the notification right there. He, of course, has to call the sergeant because I've disobeyed orders.
Oh, and whatever. You're a corporal. Simmer down.
Right. Let me tell this in order. The dad was in tears, hugs me. The son is in tears, hugs me. The dad asks to pray. We pray right there. I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine with it. I'm going to pray with you. Of course I am.
I've done the same. Yep.
They do what they need to do. When we leave the scene, I go straight back to my sergeant and I said, hey, just FYI, this is what happened and this is what I did and this is why I did it. And he says, oh, I know. And I go, okay. Nothing more is spoken about. What that person will never know is that 5 years later, that dad ran into my dad and says, wait a second, your daughter is so-and-so? And my dad goes, yeah. And he goes, I remember your daughter. Here's why I remember your daughter. I have nothing but good things to say about your daughter. And so...
And that's why we did the job.
And that, exactly. And that's exactly where I'm going with this, is that so much of this is, I guess, your core, your intuition, your integrity. So much of this job is rooted in integrity.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, you're going to lose respect.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, at least in my opinion, I would say from lieutenant almost up when my husband left.
Yep.
Completely no respect for any of them. None. And if they didn't have a hand in everything with my husband, they at least knew about it and didn't do anything, which in my eyes is the same as not.
But that's literally the definition of integrity. Do the right thing even when nobody's freaking looking.
Yep.
And have a spot, like, step again, which is why I said early on, and I'll say it again as we wrap up. This is, for those of you listening, this is the definition of Eric. It just is. This is a man who will, even now, going through everything he's gone through, will be like, you're wrong. Even though he knows it could catch his feet on fire. He's done it. I've watched him do it. That whole incident, and I don't know if you know this, that whole incident that started this whole thing, we were talking about chasing that dude around. Your husband, he didn't work out of our precinct.
No.
He worked out of fucking Contract City, for crap's sake.
Yeah.
Knowing that Matt and I are going to be in that briefing, he came to our briefing and stood the line for me and Matt to everybody involved in that briefing and everybody sitting in the room with the cameras on amongst all the precincts. Stood the line. I did not tell you that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did that. Eric did that. He was diplomatic, right? He wasn't rude or disrespectful, but he was Eric. He was firm, right? He's the Eric we know. And he stood that line. And that's what I said when I wasn't joking when I said that Eric said these are the two guys that should be doing it. That's when he said it. And he said it to that whole room. That's the man he is. That's the man that agency shit away. Shame on them. Shame on them. And
thank you.
You're welcome. And I mean, it's the truth. I've said from day one of starting this podcast. It's going to sound like agency bashing. Please make no mistake. Nobody here is bashing an agency. We are telling the truth and being transparent.
It's the lack of integrity, though. And I think that happens when people get promoted. Mm-hmm. You either A, become so badge heavy or so title heavy, mm-hmm. and you forget what it is to work with these people, these human beings side by side. And you telling me that confirms everything that I know. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I wouldn't be married to him.
Sure.
But it also helps close up some of that, because what they never do during these things is nobody ever contacts the wife. Nobody.
No.
Nobody does. And what really rocked my world is I worked there. I worked mm-hmm. side by side with some of these people. These people had my phone number. They have every means to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
And not a single fucking person called me.
Mm-hmm.
Not one. How are you doing? How's your husband doing?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody called me. I'm not attached to this investigation in any way, shape, or form.
Right. No, but you got the cancer, for lack of a better term. You got what I call administrative leave herpes. You're attached to that. You're contagious.
Mm-hmm. And I am just attached to it. But at the end of the day, I am the one who's taking care of the pieces that they mm-hmm. left behind. And that is the one thing I can probably say negative about almost every single agency is they forget that this doesn't just impact the person. Yes. This impacts the whole family. Mm-hmm. And that is what I want to change. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'm going to change it, but dang it, I'm going to do my best. Is that we need to be a fearless bunch, and we need to go out there and change the way that agencies do this. I'm not saying you need to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That is not what this is about. I mean, there are some really harsh allegations that I've heard about with law enforcement, and they are extremely guilty of them. You know, mm-hmm. sex scandals, we've all heard them.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless of anything, that family is still going through it too. And that is the important thing, is like, I don't care how bad the allegation is.
Mm-hmm.
That family is still going through hell.
That's right.
Because that spouse is still having to deal with that on a personal level that you are not having to deal with that on.
Mm-hmm. I also want to put out there, because we do speak truth and transparency. This whole thing that Eric went through, because of the integrity issues, because of the lack of honor and the blatant lies, another sergeant fucking quit.
Yes.
Because of it.
So
and I don't want to dime that person out because they're not ready to tell their story.
I understand.
Yeah.
But that person stood by my husband.
That's right.
Through the bitter end and told the direct person
mm-hmm.
that he was sick and tired of this, because you're a liar. You're a sack of crap for lying. Yep. How dare you lie? And he got to see that with his own mouth.
Yes.
Face to face.
Yep.
And I can, that person's wife worked here as well and went mm-hmm. through her own stuff.
Yep.
We have talked at lengths about that. And for those voices who are not ready to come out and tell the story, that's what I'm about. I'm about getting that out there. We have to get that out there, because if we don't, we're never, ever, ever going to change how this happens.
Right. And and how many more people, and again, that's this platform, right? The mental health aspect of all of this, the trauma that everybody's being put through, aside from just the job, right? The crap that we deal with as cops.
Yeah.
I've said it, you've said it, Mitch has said it. The worst trauma we deal with is from our own leaders. Inside
the four walls. Yep.
Inside the four walls.
Yep.
Yep.
And you know, the other thing is that I dealt with this firsthand. I knew all the players involved. So it hit me on a different emotional scale than it would probably anybody else who doesn't have that personal touch.
Right. These are people you've literally bled with over the years. You know what I mean?
But it's like nobody tells you the disappointment you're going to have, the hurt that you're going to experience, the alienation you're going to experience, the betrayal. And then you sit back and you're like, you second guess yourself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did why didn't I, you second guess every.
Am I going crazy? Did I actually say this? Like, oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that is just it. It's like, this is where you have to plant it in God again. And this is where you have to give it to God, because it's like, and I go back to what Corey told me freaking so many years ago, get a notebook and put it on the notebook. Because if you don't write it down, if you don't get it out of you, if you don't put it on something and give it to something, you're going to go crazy.
You're going to go crazy. Who, speaking of Corey, another retired,
right.
Finally had enough. Oh, speak of the devil, look who's in the background. Pretending like he's on the phone. I'm kidding. Well, let's wrap this up. This has been like a holy, this has been crazy. Like, we have literally laughed, cried, yelled, and out of anger, like every emotion. I've cried like several times through this whole thing. I'm really fair skinned, so you don't see it really good. Like, this has been freaking awesome. And
well, it's been good too, because what it did was it closed up loose ends for all of us. And I think too, it tells a story that's going to resonate out there with so many people. Because this isn't like just I mean, yes, this is a single incident, but that incident can resonate so much with so many people all across.
Yes. Oh, and it is. I can tell you, Leanne, like we've talked to people from all over the country, and there's a common denominator, and it's sad. The common denominator is toxic leadership. And I'm not specifically talking about the agency we worked for. I'm talking about the police culture, because what I can tell you is that there is a current leader within that agency that we used to work for who is very aware of it and is doing everything they can. It's an uphill battle to try to fight that. And I applaud her for that. I believe in her on some levels. I know that other people have other issues. I haven't experienced them yet. Hopefully I won't now.
Well, but you're touching on something that is so important. Don't let others sway your opinion.
Correct.
Because what you experience personally is what you experience personally.
Yes.
I have a different opinion.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yes.
Oh, wait, hold on. Does this, not to go there, but oh my gosh, can this apply to politics too? Can we have a different opinion there?
Right.
And still have a conversation? But it's okay, because I'm very much for this, that I never made a judgment call on anybody until I had an experience with them.
Exactly. Amen. Me too.
And you can't do that. It's like all the rumors that circulated about me, thank God my husband never made a judgment on me.
Right.
He was laser focused. He's like, nope, that's my future wife. There we go.
That's right. Oh yeah. And if you know Eric, if he gets focused on something, there's no deviating from that path.
Right. But you just hit the nail on the head there. Don't let other people sway you from that opinion.
Even even the things that we've said in these are personal experiences.
Yeah.
If people, people that you work there, you're putting two and two together, you know who people are. We are not suggesting that you hate on this person.
No.
That's not at all what we're suggesting. These are just our truths and transparency of the fallacies of humans, right? I mean, I'm sure there's people that can talk some mad shit about Brian Rogers. I promise you there is.
I don't know about you, but I'm perfect.
Okay. Let's bring Eric on and get his opinion on that.
My son will give you a different opinion too.
Right. So the other thing I do want a quick plug. Do you guys still have like a farm store?
So yes. So we, what happened when I left the agency is I opened up a boutique. My husband and my father built that from the ground up, literally. We did have some help along the way. There were some various friends that came in and helped for a couple days here and there. But we have a boutique. It was open 5 days a week up until COVID. And then when COVID hit, I closed everything down like everybody else. And then that's when I made the decision. We're going to homeschool. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't battle the craziness.
Right.
And we have no stability going on in the school system right now. So we pulled our son. I started homeschooling. And so now we're only open on the weekends.
Okay.
It is Stoneberg Alpacas. We are in Hillsborough. But we're open on the weekends 10 to 4, and you can come out, you can shop our incredible array of socks and sweaters and beautiful garments that are made from our fiber, the fiber that we harvest from our animals. You can buy a bag of grain. You can go enjoy feeding the animals right there. I have hooked up with several other small businesses, and I'm lifting them up as well. We have our own mug that I hooked up with a potter made in Montana, actually, and it's a beautiful pottery mug. I hooked up with a great coffee roaster who you and I both know.
Oh, and coffee is so... I'm going to do a shout out right now.
I have my own signature coffee because of him.
Do you really?
Yes.
I love it. Tall fur?
Yes. Amazing.
Yes. Former, and I'm going to give him a shout too right now, an advertisement. For those of you listening, you can order it online. Tall Fur, like the fir tree, Tall Fur Coffee.
Yes.
This is a dude that is so passionate about coffee. He's a retired deputy. If I'm understanding, the last few years, like he traveled all over South America to find the right coffee beans. Like he's opening or has just opened an actual retail coffee
he
place.
Has his place open
in Beaverton, and I don't know if the name has changed yet.
Yes, yes, it has.
So Tall Fur Coffee on Milliken and Murray in Beaverton. And I'm telling you, I don't just say this because I know the dude. The best coffee. Like, so good. I like the Guatemalan dark. I'm kind of a coffee bitch when it comes to that. Like, I like the, I don't like the super
you would
high
like
caffeine.
my blend, I bet. Then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tall Fur Coffee. Google it. You can order it online. He ships it right to you.
Yeah.
You can get it in bean. You can get it ground. All the good things. So
he's amazing.
Oh, he's awesome. Awesome Christian dude. Like, great dude.
10.
So with that, tell Eric, please pass along. Like, I love him. I miss him. He has my phone number. We've texted before. We can absolutely keep in contact. It's not that big a deal. But for those of you listening, please do the like, subscribe, follow. Again, Leanne's not getting paid for this. We don't make money at this. This is just a platform of people that want to get their story out and tell some truths and be transparent in telling that truth. And if Leanne's story has resonated with you, get a hold of us on Shielded Voices. You can find me. I can say my name now, which is fucking awesome. Brian Rogers, Rogers, on LinkedIn. Because I don't have my First Amendment's not being squelched anymore. Weird.
Huh.
Kind of feels good. So you can find me on LinkedIn. And then if you want to tell your story, we can get us hooked up. And with that, Leanne, like, I've got your number. You've got mine.
Yeah.
On one of these weekends, it's a drive for me, but I'm going to take the wife out there. So
you need to bring the wife out, and you need to do it about probably late spring.
Yeah.
Okay. There's some beautiful wineries out here. There's some beautiful little stores to go to and get some fruit and stuff like that. You come to me first, and I will tell you where to go.
We'll do it. And I also want to go see. I want to go to Chris's place, the place that their retail place that they're opening up in downtown.
Yes.
So that's going to be cool. And once they get that going, I'm going to start plugging that on here too. So good. Well, with that, thank you so much for just your openness and your honesty. And tell Eric I love him. I miss him. And we will definitely all be in touch. And you can tell him, but I said, fuck you. I don't talk too much on the radio.
Thank you. Thank you for giving a platform to people like me.
Yeah, for sure. We will be in touch.
That's going to wrap up part 3 of our conversation with Leanne. If you made it this far, thank you for sitting with the raw truth, the heartbreak, and the hope. Stories like this aren't easy to tell, and they're not easy to hear, but they're necessary. Because behind every badge, there's a family holding the line too. If something in this episode, or these last 2 episodes, struck a chord, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone, whether it's a spouse, a coworker, or a leader who's ready to do better. As always, Shielded Voices is here to cut through the silence, talk about the hard things with honesty, dignity, and courage. We're not just building a podcast, we're building a community. Until next time, take care of each other, and don't be afraid to speak up. You never know who's listening.